Hello everyone and welcome back to the Knowing Wheel podcast, your favourite Formula 1 podcast. And you are joined, as always, by myself and Matt. Do you want to say hello?
Hi, yes, we're back. It's episode 183. We love it.
Yes, that's why I've begun this podcast with a terrible introduction, but there we go. And we're here to discuss the British Grand Prix, which, if you haven't seen it, go watch it, because I think it's going to be quite difficult to avoid spoilers before... immediately, because one of us is very pleased today.
I know you're happy about this, aren't you, Jamie? Which I'm quite impressed with. I mean, would you argue for episode 183, this is quite possibly the greatest outcome ever, as we both know you are the resident Lewis Hamilton fan on the show?
You know what? I don't mind. I really didn't mind this result.
I think it would be harsh to say anyone did mind it, to be fair.
You would struggle to find even the most anti-Lewis Hamilton fan, which I'm not. I'm not even anti-Hamilton. I'm just neutral. People, like, you've got to be a cold-hearted individual if you didn't enjoy it a little bit.
I'm sure there's some people out there that didn't, but, you know, those people probably don't know Formula 1 very well and don't understand. Because you've got to admit, it was a really kind of defining moment, wasn't it? You know,
it was a nice race. It was, yeah, it was sweet. And the radio message at the end and all that. If you didn't watch the race, Hamilton won his 9th British Grand Prix. We'll get that out of the way. World record for most wins at a single circuit. But more importantly, Max Verstappen finished second.
How is that more importantly? I mean, that is quite funny, the fact he's still built up more of a championship lead over Lando.
Yep.
But I mean,
but we should go through it in chronological order, really.
We're going to go through in chronological order, are we? You're not going to let me spurt out random new world records that Lewis has broke with that? Or am I going to intersperse them within the show, am I?
You might have to intersperse them.
Okay. Well, I mean, obviously, we did a podcast on Friday. We recorded it before free practice, and obviously it went live after free practice. Let's be fair, neither of us were predicting Mercedes to immediately look as strong as they did. Not only in the dry, but also in the wet conditions, on the short runs, on the long runs, everything between. For probably the second time ever in this hybrid era, ground effect era, they actually looked to be in the fight. And I would say the only other time was Brazil 2022.
Yeah, probably. Arguably, last year at Silverstone, they were pretty good, but that was also...
It wasn't as good as McLaren, though.
Last year at Silverstone?
Yeah.
McLaren weren't good, were they?
They qualified second and third and had a 1-2 early on, yeah.
I was thinking 2 years ago, then, yeah, when Sainz won and Hamilton was third in the end. When he did through goes Hamilton, it was pretty good.
Third, yes.
Yeah, it was... Yeah, Mercedes looked quick. I think Friday practice showed Norris to be the fastest, probably. Like, with Mercedes kind of right there. And Red Bull nowhere near as dominant as we once had this season, which seems crazy that they were in the same season where Verstappen was winning by 20 seconds every race. Because that seems like a never going to happen again at this point, which is quite sad. But not sad for the sport. But there you go.
Just sad if you're Jamie183, apparently.
Yeah. Well, it's made it very interesting races. I'm just glad Max is 90 points clear, so it doesn't really matter.
No, there is that kind of over-looming dark cloud, isn't it? I mean, to be fair, it's good for the sport, obviously, what we've had the last few Grand Prix. You know, are we prepared to say Formula 1 is back? 6 winners in 12 races so far this year?
I would say that. And given that the first... Well, I guess just the first 2 were the same driver, wasn't it? So really, it's 6 winners in 10 races.
Yeah,
as well.
Yeah. Absolutely
6 different winners.
Absolutely wild.
Crazy.
Let's get into qualifying. Yeah. So it was raining all of Saturday morning.
Naturally, put the British Grand Prix in the middle of summer, and it's going to be raining. So Q1, especially, had the most changeable conditions, and as it's slightly challenging driver skill based. Challenging conditions in qualifying, that naturally meant that Sergio Perez had to put it in the gravel, and he was out of qualifying immediately, which I think makes it 2 Q3s in the last 6 races or something.
I believe so. I mean, we'll see.
Something like that.
Logan Sargent now is out-qualified him 7 times this year between sprints and real qualifying.
In 12 races. No, how many? 15?
15, yeah, between sessions? The two. It's literally pretty much 50-50 between them at this stage of the year.
And Sargent is still yet to out-qualify Albon in a Grand Prix.
No, he did in Miami Sprint, though, didn't he, to be fair?
And in the other sprint recently as well.
Yes, the Austria Sprint.
Yeah, really, really poor from Perez. Straight up error. And he looked so sad about it. He was trying to get a push from the marshals. That's never going to happen.
Nope.
If it was the Mexican Grand Prix, they would have done it. But even then, he would have been disqualified if he had. So, yeah, not good at all. And that left him right at the back, along with Pierre Gasly, who had engine pens, so didn't bother trying very hard. And, another Red Bull driver, the only other Red Bull driver, also made a little trip through the gravel, which is uncharacteristic, but unlike Perez, he did manage to keep it going. But yeah, that kind of damaged the floor quite considerably, and yeah, not good for Max. And from that point onwards, he never really looked like he had the pace. I'm not sure he had it to begin with, this track, but yeah, that really scuppered his chances completely.
So I don't get me wrong, I do think that floor damage cost him any chance at pole position. Spoilers there for you. But, I mean, you look at the Red Bull race pace early on in the Grand Prix as well. I don't think it cost him as much as a lot of people were making out it did by the end of qualifying. But I certainly think, it eliminated, any kind of real chance fighting for that pole, didn't he? Because obviously you said, about obviously Perez stacking it. Obviously Max went through the gravel. Magnussen, following Max, also went through the gravel, which was obviously quite scary in Q1. But yeah, obviously it was Sergio Perez that was joined by Gasly, who, despite qualifying 20th and had 50 places worth of grid penalties, lined up P19 on the grid. And then you had Bottas.
He didn't line up P19 in the end, did he?
He did? Well, no, he didn't. Bottas Magnussen, I'm guessing, is who you're calling Mac.
I put Mac, as in Big Mac, but yeah, that's meant to be Magnussen.
And Esteban Ocon, of course, joining him there. So Alpine are back until they aren't again. But Zhou Guanyu made it into Q2, which I guess Jamie can be happy about.
11-1, let's go. Comeback's on.
Is it finally? Is that his first time he's out qualified, Bottas, this year?
Yes, it is.
That is hilarious.
But we take it.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
He actually did quite well until the race when the team kind of.
He's actually not bad at Silverstone, is he, Joe?
No, he's not.
It's one of his better circuits.
I saw him win a feature race around here.
You did many moons ago. But a feature race win is a feature race win. I mean, we moved into Q2 though. It was kind of obviously the track had dried up for the most part. Things were kind of stabilising, weren't they? But of course, that didn't stop Mr. Monaco, Charles Leclerc, who apparently traded his soul for that Grand Prix victory.
Yes.
Because, well, worryingly, getting knocked out by Lance Stroll in Q2 was probably about as good as it got this weekend for Charles Leclerc. He was joined by Logan Sargent, Yuki Tsunoda, Zhou Guanyu, and Daniel Ricciardo out in Q2. Good to see VCARB's upgrades starting to bring them back in the right direction. Unlike Ferrari, who all of their new upgrades for Spain, or before Spain, they've now taken off the car again.
Yes, and equally VCARB have done similar. They put upgrades on in Spain, which they've kind of Frankenstein together with the old car now. So they're running two different specs, or like two different specs together on the same car pretty much, which made them take a slight step forward from where they were last week in Austria. But they certainly, it seems like Haas, genuinely, I never thought we'd be saying this in Bahrain, but Haas are probably the 5th fastest car now, maybe 6th, and Hulkenberg's just doing better than Alonso and Stroll are.
I would say, it's pretty close. I mean, Alpine on the right track as well. I mean, this is the great thing, isn't it? I mean, the way that Aston Martin are now fallen off is it does kind of reward any of those teams that has a good weekend. Yeah,
definitely. And the way Ferrari are fallen off too. But, that's hopefully a anomaly for Leclerc's sake anyway.
I mean, what's the mad stat about Hulkenberg this year? He's finished outside the top 11. Is it twice?
That's a good question.
So far this year?
I have a Wikipedia page open so I can go and find out.
It's actually
He retired in Monaco.
Yeah.
Was that a crash?
Yeah.
I can't remember what happened to him in Monaco. And Bahrain, he was 16th, where he lost his front wing at turn 1. So any clean race, he's finished in the top 11.
Insane. I think we can give Hulkenberg credit here. Unfortunately, it's still going a little bit under the radar because he's finished 11th so many times.
Back-to-back 6th places.
He is, I think, we spoke about it earlier on in the year, didn't we? I remember we said him and Tsunoda probably are performing the best of the backmarkers. I think now Hulkenberg...
Well, you said that.
Yeah. No, but I think we both agreed on it, though. We both said Hulkenberg and Tsunoda were like a level above the rest of the backmarkers right now. I think you can say now Hulkenberg is that step above Tsunoda as well. And I mean, for a man that was meant to be out of the sport 4 years ago and we were never going to see again, it has been a fantastic turnaround by Nico Hulkenberg.
Can you just keep speaking? I'm absolutely loving this.
I'm hoping you're going to give me the same back later on when we get to our Grand Prix winner, but we'll wait and see. But yeah, that moved us then...
he had one race, one Grand Prix in the points last season.
Insane.
And one sprint race in the points last season.
Insane.
And then this season, it's going so much
better. I want to know why he can't do any of this in my driver career mode on the F1 game. So far, he scored 2 points in 2 years, and both of those points came in one sprint race where he got lucky on strategy. But anyway, we'll digress. We'll go.
Podium's on its way, by the way. The way that this season is giving everyone what they want.
No, if he was ever going to get a podium, it would have been because he wasn't on the grid in 2020, was he?
No, that's why everyone had to get a podium. There were 14 podium finishes that season.
Insane. Absolutely insane. Was it 14 or was it 13?
Maybe 13.
I thought it was all of the 3 backmarker teams and
Kvyat
that didn't get a podium. But yeah, we move into Q3 though, and Jamie, we had 3 Brits in the fight. George Russell, Lando Norris, Lewis Hamilton, all covered by less than 2/10 at the end of the first runs?
Yeah.
It was all to play for.
Yeah, definitely. And Verstappen never looked like getting in the mix, really. I think he was 5th after the first runs behind Piastri. And then second runs, Hamilton is the first to cross the line and sends Silverstone wild by going onto pole position briefly. At which point, Lando Norris doesn't finish his lap. He's messed it up. I don't actually see what he did on his final run, but... for whatever reason, made a mistake or whatever, was just slow and pulled into the pits. So that was it over. And it looked like, was it a Mercedes 1-2 with Hamilton on pole? Well, it was a Mercedes 1-2, but George Russell, the winner last time out, improved and took pole by 1.7 which is quite considerable given how close the margins were in the end. And that made it a Mercedes 1-2. And 2019 was cooling because... Yeah, I guess they did get that one-off 1-2 in Brazil in 2022, but before that, it's been a very long time. So, with Norris in P3, Verstappen did just sneak back ahead of Piastri in the top 5, with Hulkenberg 6th. They had both Ferraris in a customer team, which was very amusing. And then you had the other 2 Aston Martins and Alex Albon round up the top 10.
What was more staggering with Hulkenberg is he was less than half a second off pole, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was well under half a second.
It was ridiculous. I think well under half a second is strong. Wasn't it like 0.487 or something?
Q3, 26.3. Oh yeah, it was half a second.
Well under 13 thousandths.
He was a 10th off Verstappen.
Yeah, absolutely
He was like
insane.
just over a 10th off P4.
Absolutely insane.
But he's always been good at Silverstone. It is a very special track for him. So...
He loves it.
Yeah.
He loves it. But I mean, that set us up then. The first British 1-2-3 on the grid since the 60s.
Oh, I know this. The 60s. It was Clark.
1965, wasn't it?
They said it was Clark, Stewart, and Innes Ireland, I think.
Yeah.
Who's not even English. He's Irish. So technically,
no, I thought he was English. It's just his surname was Ireland. I mean, we say was. He might still be. I don't know whether he's still alive.
No, he's dead.
Okay.
He was born in Yorkshire. Go on, then.
He's a local lad to Jamie.
He is? All right.
I love the way you claim you're from Yorkshire, but you've also dropped the bombshell that you used to live in Clacton, have spent time in London and Manchester.
Yeah, well, I play both sides of the fence, so that way you can never lose.
Yeah, but you're not a southerner ever in this scenario.
I am a southerner.
No, you're not. London is not
born in
the
London.
south. No, Jamie,
Yes,
London does not count as the south.
Right, okay.
We have the north,
true
we
farmer.
have the south, and we have London. Exactly.
Well, I'm from London then. And
That's
Yorkshire
not something
and
you should be proud of.
Manchester.
Anyway,
Right.
Grand Prix
Race
start.
day.
It's looking chaotic again. It's rained all morning. Did you watch the Formula 3 race?
I didn't.
It
but
was
I saw
ridiculous.
It, I was following it on Twitter.
It was
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
Crazy, wasn't it?
So Callum Voisin, I think it was, started P9. Everyone in front of him started on wets. He started on dry. So we went from 9th to 1st. Safety car came out. He had to box onto wet, so dropped to last. Then recovered back to P5. And then had to box again, so went back to like P22 and still recovered for like a top 10 finish. He genuinely made up like 45 overtakes
That's
in a
insane.
race that consisted of about 16 racing laps. It was ridiculous.
And was it not him or somebody won the race and then the team didn't tell him he had a penalty until he crossed the line? So he had all the elation of winning and then they told him he had a
That
time
might
penalty.
have been voicing, I think.
I think that was voicing.
Yeah, it was
But
just
I thought that might have been
absolute
a sprint
insanity.
race. 'Cause
Absolute
he won.
insanity. The Formula 2 was, again, pretty good, but not quite as dramatic. I would still love down the line if we had the time to do a proper Formula 2 and Formula 3 show.
Yeah.
But it did give us a good indicator as to what we should be expecting from Formula 1, and that was changeable conditions, chaos,
And chaos.
and those are just the two greatest things in Formula 1. Except for when your driver, who hasn't won a race in 2.5 years, looks like they're in a shot, because I just wanted to see Lewis take the lead and just stay there forever. But it was never going to be the case, was it?
No, it wasn't. And we did get, I mean, to be honest, the start was pretty undramatic. Verstappen got past Norris because Norris did some terrible car positioning in turn 3.
And turn 1.
Yeah, and turn 1, actually. But, yes, the first 18 laps or so, the Mercedes just kind of had a buffer. Russell was leading from Hamilton. Fully dry race at that point, anyway. And then all that really happened was Verstappen started dropping back and behind both McLarens in the first bit of dry weather, which maybe made me think, oh, Red Bull must only be third fastest then if both McLarens are driving past Verstappen with ease, really. And then, yeah, lap 17, lap 18, it begins to rain. The classic British weather came in clutch, and that really mixed things up.
Yes. Well, I mean, he was one of those proper quintessential British Grand Prix, wasn't it? Of it would start to rain, but only at certain parts of the circuit. And obviously, where Silverstone's kind of built, it's kind of on a little bit of a plateau, isn't it? Obviously, where it's an old airfield, as are most of our British racetracks. It obviously means when you had like the helicopter shots and things like that, you could see just a rainstorm happening 5 miles away. And you obviously just slowly rolling towards the circuit. But it would like only skim the track. It would only just kind of get one little part of the circuit damp, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So like we said, Lando obviously able to finally get the jump on Max just before the rain hit. And then suddenly Oscar Piastri is able to move past him as well. Both of them. Pretty simple slipstream DRS passes down the hangar straight, wasn't it? But basically with the background shot as they both go through of just impending chaos. And then suddenly the rain starts to fall. And this is obviously in those horrible, tricky conditions where no one can maintain tire temperature. McLaren absolutely come alive, don't they? The way they have figured out these Pirelli tyres this year, with the fact they can heat up the core of the tyre without destroying the surface, is so advantageous in these conditions.
So the McLarens immediately absolutely switch it on. You had, as soon as it started raining, Hamilton passed Russell for the lead down to Stowe as well, which was a pretty good move and kind of showed his experience, I think, because in those conditions you need all you can get in terms of experience and stuff like that. So the fact that it started raining, immediately Russell loses grip and Hamilton takes the lead was pretty telling, I thought. But yeah, it only lasted maybe a lap because, yeah, down towards Abbey, the very next lap from that, both the Mercedes went straight on and didn't have any issues other than going off the track, but that allowed Norris to pass Russell, and with it by the end of the lap, Norris had also passed Hamilton, and Piastri was right on the back of them too. Yeah, so that was very quickly changed from a Mercedes 1-2 down to a McLaren 1-2 with Norris from Piastri. And then in those changeable conditions with the dry tyres on a slightly wet track, the McLarens looked to be on it totally and had the edge on everyone else, really. Meanwhile...
not only did the McLarens look to be on it, Oscar looked to be quicker than Lando.
Yeah, he did.
Just,
he was right on him.
The one time we've ever seen Oscar Piastri's inability to look after tyres, and it really started to play into his hand, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It seemed like Piastri definitely had the edge on Norris, and was... I think everyone's a Piastri fan. Like, even if you're not a Piastri fan, you are.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, you're not, because you like Zhou Guanyu, but I love the kid. I think he's fantastic.
Piastri and Joe are not even rivals anymore.
Oh, not anymore. They never really were in the first place, were they?
No, exactly. But, I mean, yeah, I was kind of getting gassed for a Piastri win, because that would have been crazy cool. But, yeah, eventually, that bit of rain, at least, did stop. It never really got time for Inters, but that didn't stop Perez and Leclerc trying it anyway. And a pit stop is so long at Silverstone that... for it to be worth going for Inters back to dries, you're looking at it's got to be a 45-second gain.
Yeah.
Which it definitely wasn't going to be. So
half a lap in a short
I think
window.
everyone could see that. I don't have a clue why they even bothered trying. And then they just saw it through. So by the time it did start raining on lap 27, their Inters, which had done 8 laps on a dry track, were absolutely finished, and they just had to pit again anyway.
I mean, I can understand it
so bad.
from Checo's point of view of somehow in that Red Bull he's not making any progress in the race. I mean, he was watching, what was it, Magnussen and Joe or Magnussen and Bottas?
It was like, P17 or something.
For like P16 in front of him. He can't get past either of them. At that point, you're kind of there going, just roll the dice. If I get out further ahead, then I get out further ahead, don't I? Leclerc and Ferrari, though, I mean, like we said, he's clearly traded his soul for that Monaco win. The fact he scored 10 points in the last 4 Grand Prix is, and we were talking about a championship challenge, goes to show how much Ferrari have still got to improve. But yeah, he never got wet enough during that first kind of rain shower to box for the intermediates, despite how difficult the conditions were. But by lap 27, it was a much bigger rainstorm was rolling in, wasn't it? And it was actually Max that was the first to blink. Because, and to be fair, he was helped a little bit here by the fact Checo's so bad. Because it did just give him free call to box whenever he kind of felt like.
And also, having Perez on Inters probably gave him a bit of information about how
it gave everyone a bit of information.
It did.
For most of the time, that information was, it's not ready.
Yeah. But I think Max absolutely nailed this call, to be honest, because him and Sainz both pit on lap 27 and immediately just made huge gains on the soft runners. And the next lap, the Lando Norris, I almost forgot his name for a second, and both Mercedes did come into the pits. This call was going to screw over the second cars of Piastri and Russell, because if you want to pit at the same time, well, obviously you're going to have to queue. If you don't want to pit at the same time, you're going to have to go a lot longer and lose so much time. Russell got screwed by having to double stack, but he got screwed a lot less than Oscar Piastri did, who had to go a lap longer because he was literally up the gearbox of Norris. So it would have been losing 6 seconds to double stack, or it would have been
losing an entire pit stop by going one lap.
Which is how it went.
Hindsight is a beautiful, beautiful thing, but McLaren absolutely once again, and it seems to always happen when Oscar's genuinely in the fight for the win, that he just gets screwed completely by McLaren strategy. And it happened once again here, didn't it? I actually really panicked when Lewis came out of the pit lane, because obviously Checo, where he was a lap down, was still beefing with the front runners. I thought Max had undercut Lewis, which hadn't happened.
I thought Max was ahead of both of them, but it didn't happen. But he did get Russell, and obviously Piastri was out of the picture totally. So it was at a point Norris leading? No.
Yeah, Norris still in front.
Norris leading from Hamilton from Verstappen, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then that was the Inters. Sorry, that was Inters, yeah.
Yep.
And then kind of out of nowhere, just with Russell running, P4?
Yep.
He just boxed and retired. And there was no real indication of it happening before it happened, but that was that for the pole sitter. And last week's winner was out of the race. which, yeah, just a mechanical water leak, wasn't it? And such a weird retirement, because he literally got the call around Stowe, which is like right where the pit lane is, and that was just it. He was out. And that must have sent a few Mercedes fans a bit stressed, because the other car was looking very much on for a good result.
Well, how can you get a water leak when there's water all around the circuit? Like, surely you just sit behind Max and the water will seep back into where it's meant to, surely.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. I mean, I'm sure that's mechanically the way things work.
But oh, absolutely. I have a deep understanding of how a Formula 1 car works, Jamie. I mean, what I couldn't get, the bit I couldn't understand the most in all of this is why tell Lewis? Because surely you're just going to be there in the other car going,
just stressed to give out.
Anything could happen right now. I'm just in danger all the time.
Yeah.
But of course, yeah, we were meant to see, because it was basically, obviously, they went over to intermediates and the rain then basically dissipated again, didn't it? But obviously it dumped so much water on the track, it was just about trying to move all of that, kind of standing water on the circuit. But of course, as soon as the sun comes back out again, it wasn't a cold day particularly. It just meant that the track would then reheat up and a lot of this water would instantly start to evaporate again. So it was only, 10, 11 more laps before basically everyone was moving back over to dries.
Yeah, definitely. And Lewis and Max Verstappen pit on the same lap from second and third for Lewis for softs and Verstappen for hards, wasn't it? And then one lap later, the McLaren pit of Norris and chose his own softs, which was very odd when he had medium tyres sitting there. Sorry, I'm going to sneeze.
I mean, yeah, it was, bless you. From McLaren, I can understand that when you're trying to make the call between dries and wets and that kind of thing, how it's got to be down to the driver. They've got the feel of what's going on underneath and that kind of thing. When it's simply a dry tyre option of which one you go with, the team have got to have more of a say on that. It was clear that the mediums were going to be better. We'd seen that all weekend.
And I think the difference between Red Bull and McLaren is Red Bull take charge. You got Hannah Schmitz absolutely bossing things, and
GP's not afraid to put Max in his place.
Exactly. I think Max probably didn't want the hard tyres, particularly on a track that's still getting rubbered in, and you want tyre heat up, which the soft will be better for sure. But they knew that the softs weren't going to last, because I think Joe started on softs at the beginning and had to pit before the rain even came, which was maybe it was lap 14 or 13 or 14. So, and obviously the Alfa Romeo, or the Sauber, is not particularly strong on its tyres. It's not particularly strong anywhere. But,
I was going to say, yeah.
But yeah, the fact that it was going to be close towards the end on softs, Red Bull kind of put the foot down and was like, we're going on hards.
Well, they didn't have a set of mediums, did they?
They didn't. Neither did Hamilton.
No, no.
But yeah, the hards was definitely... Well, the mediums was the right choice, followed by the hard, followed by the soft, in my mind.
Yep.
Yeah, so Norris, really messed up. And the fact he went super long in his box as well and had a 4.5 second pit stop was on him totally. And that let Lewis take the lead. And that was getting all of the Hamilton fans very excited.
It was no. We were not excited at that point. It was just pure nerves and stress and anxiety and horribleness.
Yeah, because he was leading with 12 laps to go.
Yep.
And yeah, he just had Norris to try and hold off, but the McLaren looked quicker in practice than the Mercedes did. So anything could have happened in the dry with DRS back enabled and 12 laps to go.
And far more scary than that was the fact that Max Verstappen, once he got those tyres warmed up, which took about a lap and a half, was suddenly going half a second quicker, pumping in fastest laps on repeat.
Yeah. And you had the gap after the pit stops with about 3 seconds to Norris and then another 3 seconds to Verstappen. That kind of came down both ways. So Norris was closing a bit on Hamilton, and then Verstappen was definitely closing on Norris. And it was all coming to a head, which would have been a crazy three-way fight. Sadly, we didn't quite get it, because that would have been so much fun. But
sadly for you, I don't care.
Sadly for me, it would have been hilarious if Verstappen had taken the win somehow.
If Verstappen had carved back through from third to
the
first,
absolute riots.
yeah, Silverstone would have not been a fun place to be. I mean,
especially if you're Dutch.
Yeah, it was obviously Lando took a tiny bit of time out of Lewis for a couple laps, didn't he? And then pretty much immediately you could see just didn't quite get the tyres working the way he needed to. So he was then starting to lose. It was kind of like Lando would lose a tenth to Lewis every lap, but Max would take half a second out of Lando. So he was trying to work out the offset and the difference and how many laps there were left. And I think it was looking like on about lap 42 that the gap Max had taken out of Lewis meant they would have been neck and neck on the final lap of the Grand Prix. But if there's one thing that you'd hope comes from nearly 350 Grand Prix of racing experience, Jamie, it's that you know how to manage tyres.
Yes, and his tyre whispering is quality. I think it's one of the most underrated things.
I think it does go under the radar quite often, especially when all the talk recently has been that he works the tyres too hard, and that's why George has been doing better than him this year.
No, I don't think that's the case at all. I think Norris worked his tyres way too hard in that final stint because, he was starting to drop off hugely on those softs once Verstappen did go past him on the run down to Stowe in the third fastest car. And meanwhile you have Piastri, who was 20 seconds back after that botched strategy call on those mediums, was going a second lap faster than all of the top three, and by the end was only about 6 seconds off, wasn't he? Which was such
close,
a shame.
Yeah, he deserved to be in that fight.
Yeah, he definitely did. But with only 3.5 laps to go, Max was up to second. Lewis was still leading by about 2.5 seconds, and I honestly, just for the chaos and the rioting it would have caused, it would have been hilarious to see Verstappen win. But part of me was pleased that Lewis did hold on.
Well, let's talk about this then. 1.4 seconds at the checkered flag. First driver ever to win after starting 300 Grand Prix.
Mm-hmm.
Most wins at any circuit ever, breaking the deadlock between him and Michael Schumacher at 8 apiece. I believe that was Silverstone in Hungary for Lewis and Magny Core for Michael.
I think it was Nürburgring, wasn't it?
No, I think it was Magny Core, yeah.
I guess Nürburgring was in and out quite a lot, wasn't it?
Exactly. So, obviously, it broke the record there. So, 9 wins at a single circuit. Most wins at a home Grand Prix as well with 9. I think he's already got the record for most podiums at a single circuit, which he's gone and extended again. Mercedes, whenever they've qualified 1 and 2 at Silverstone, ever, they've always gone on to win the Grand Prix. I don't think many of us had our money on that.
That is true, actually, yeah.
Come Sunday morning as well. He breaks the record for most wins in Formula 1, set by Lewis Hamilton at 103, now stands at 104.
You can't say that every time he's won a race.
I can and I will, because it doesn't happen often
since Portugal 2020.
He breaks... he ties it up again. So ever since Max Verstappen's first win, in about the 160 races since then, they now each have 61 Grand Prix victories as well. Oldest winner of the 21st century with that as well, which I think is absolutely insane.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Lewis Hamilton, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think I've ever said it on this show.
I'm going to pretty disagree with you.
I think it's difficult to argue against it anymore. I've always said Senna.
He's got one more win than he has yesterday.
But to do it like that, you cannot. The longevity of this man. He's broke the record for longest career winning span. 17 years and a month.
17 years.
You cannot.
Is that the longest time?
Yeah. I think he was only a few months behind Michael beforehand when he did this. Because obviously Michael was 92 to 2006. Suddenly that's now shot up. I mean, if Fernando Alonso somehow wins a race, that'll be disgusting.
I'm just looking. I was on the Wikipedia page for records in F1. Alonso's going to be on 400 races by the end of the season.
Yeah. Do you want to know the mad thing? Since Fernando Alonso's last win, is Hamilton's gone on and broke most records in Formula 1.
Well, he's gone from 1 title to 7.
To 7, and 15 wins to 104.
Well, Verstappen's gone from not being in the sport to being fourth on the
gone
all-time win
from
list.
not having pubes, as Daniel Ricciardo once said.
Brilliant.
A 3-time, and was going to be a 4-time world champion at the end of the year.
The horrendous thing is, not by the end of this season, but by midpoint of next season, Perez will be on 300 races.
Insane. Well, yeah, but let's talk about Sergio Perez, because it's come out this week, hasn't it, as well, that he's got 2 stipulations in his contract to keep him on. So by the end of the Belgian Grand Prix, he's got to be within 100 points of Max. Currently, that gap is 137. Am I right in saying?
One race or 2 races between now and the end of Belgium.
With 2 races. He's also got to be within 5 places of Max in the championship. Currently it's 6 and should be 7 had Russell survived as well.
And I would say will be 7th by the end of Hungary.
Let's not forget, Gasly was dropped when he was P6 in the championship as well.
When the Red Bull was nowhere near as good.
When the Red Bull was the 3rd fastest car.
Yeah.
It's absolutely staggering, isn't it? But
honestly, just bin him off.
But the thing is, I don't get as well.
Get Sainz.
Well, yeah, I get Sainz would be my first port of call. Why still are they so desperate to put Ricciardo back in that car? What dirt has he got on Christian Horner that makes him seemingly the right person still? Because that's the only thing I can think of at this point, that he knows something about Christian that the rest of us don't.
Yeah, I don't know.
Absolutely insane.
But, yeah, whatever it is, they want to put Ricciardo in despite Tsunoda literally being better.
Exactly.
So, yeah, very, very strange.
Jamie, I cried. Just a little bit, but I cried.
That's heard Lewis Hamilton. It was a quality radio.
It was only when he did cry, yeah. Bono on the podium. We said this pre-show, didn't we? No one thought in Jeddah 2021 that would be his last win. And as we know, obviously, he's going to Ferrari next year. He absolutely deserves that kind of ceremonial... This is probably either his last win in the sport or his last win for Mercedes. And Arav could not script that. That's just how good it was.
Yeah, the fact he won the British Grand Prix 2.5 years after his last win.
It
was
doesn't
good.
fully recover it, but it does give a little bit back for Abu Dhabi 2021.
Yeah. Shall we do your quiz?
Yes.
Because you're going to love it.
Oh, okay.
As we know, the big talking point from Silverstone was all about Lewis Hamilton.
Show Guan Yu and his P14 finish.
But I don't care about Lewis Hamilton's race win because Nico Hulkenberg finished 6th.
He did.
In a Haas.
It's staggering.
And I don't have the exact number of how many top 6 finishes he's had in his career, but it's around 20.
Oh, I don't say I've got to name them.
You've got to name...
Of what?
Any driver to have won a Grand Prix when Hulkenberg has finished in the top 6.
Okay. Lewis...
You've got a minute.
How many ounces are there? No, how many ounces are there first?
There are 11.
Oh, okay. Okay,
yeah.
Reset the clock then.
Go.
Sebastian Vettel, Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, Fernando Alonso, Kimi Raikkonen, Jenson Button, Nico Rosberg, Daniel Ricciardo, Pastor Maldonado, Sergio Perez.
No. 4 left.
Esteban Ocon.
Nope.
Pierre Gasly. No, they neither. Yeah, I know.
Come on.
Mark Webber.
Yep.
Felipe Massa. No, he never won when Hulkenberg was on the
they never raced it. Well, Massa never won.
I've already said Button. I've already said Rosberg.
Oh, you got 2 left. You have said one of these 3, I think.
Oh God.
10 seconds.
I'm trying to think who else won in 2012. Who else won in 2012?
And your time is up.
Oh,
you were right on the wrong lines.
I'm right on the wrong lines.
You're definitely on the wrong lines. You said Alonso, didn't you?
Yeah.
The last 2. One of them, Hulk has just had 2 back-to-back top 6s. Who won
Lando
race?
Norris. Not Lando Norris.
No.
George Russell. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, George Russell.
That's really stupid.
And the other one, Monza 19, will give you the win.
Oh, Charles Leclerc. How did I forget Leclerc as well? That is really
Leclerc
bad.
and Russell.
Really
you just went
bad.
so far back.
Yeah, I just got stuck down the rabbit hole of when Hulkenberg was actually decent.
Well,
which is right now.
So
I would argue now he's delivering the best he ever has in Formula 1.
He's doing as well as he ever has, yeah.
Like,
I think 2014 still gets a bit slept on, but yeah.
Only Hulkenberg could be P3
right there.
in the championship, despite not having a podium.
Yeah, that was quality. I'm just longing for this season, which is giving us all that we want. You know, Norris first win, Monaco win for Leclerc, Silverstone win for Hamilton. Surely this is the season where Hulkenberg snags a podium somewhere.
I can't see it happening, but I will go out on a limb now in suggesting that maybe, just maybe, Audi is going to give him that podium.
You would love it.
I would be there for it. I would be there for it. I'll give you that. I still feel as their career against each other, Perez has been the better driver. It's a shame you can't say that now.
Perez is absolutely finished.
Perez is in the bin
Hulkenberg
now.
Has always been better in my head.
No.
Even when Hulk wasn't on the grid.
Jamie, we've just got a few more bits to do.
Yes.
Driver of the day is Lewis Hamilton. I know you want to say Hulkenberg, but it's Lewis Hamilton.
I do want to say Hulkenberg. Hamilton didn't outqualify his teammate.
But he did outfinish. I mean, he's George Russell against Kevin Magnussen, man. Come on. Magnussen's not going to have a drive at the end of the year.
True. I'll give it Hamilton.
Yay!
only because I gave it to Hulkenberg last week.
We did give it to Hulkenberg last week. I think that's fair. Race rating.
It was very good.
What's the best one we've given?
What's the best one we've given?
Was it Canada?
Best one we've given Canada. It wasn't. It was probably about as good as Canada, I would say.
No,
the thing is, outside the top 5, nothing.
That's where
happened.
you want the fights to be.
I guess.
I'm giving it a 9.5.
With 4 different leaders.
I don't care.
9.5.
9.5. I don't believe racing.
That's one of the greatest races ever.
Well, like one of the greatest races ever.
Good.
Be a 10. My point is, there's very good possibility that race will be the best of the year.
I actually think Canada was slightly more.
Oh, of course you do. Max Verstappen won.
I'm not giving it. I'll give it 8.5. Same as Canada.
Oh no! Can we agree to meet in the middle and we'll both give it a 9?
I don't. I quite enjoyed Canada.
So did I, but still.
I'm giving 8.5. You can give it 9.5.
Okay.
We'll average it down to 9.
We'll average it to a 9.
9.5 is like up there with the greatest races of all time. It wasn't that good.
Jamie. Predictions?
You did very well again, didn't you?
I did a Jamie result, and I'm so happy. What were the scores on the doors coming into this?
The score, I was 1 behind, I think.
No, we were tied. It was 44
Oh, we were
apiece.
tied.
Hence why I was allowed to go first. It was written.
And why Lewis Hamilton won, because it was 44 apiece in our predictions.
Exactly.
You said, if I remember correctly, Lando Norris would get pole.
Yeah.
Which he did
no
not.
points.
You said Lando Norris would win the race. Which
1
did not.
point.
You said Verstappen would finish second.
2
which he
points.
somehow did.
Yeah!
And Lewis Hamilton would finish third.
I said I was a moron for even predicting Lewis podium.
Yeah.
And
so
look
what
at
does that give you? 4 points?
4 points. Thank you very much.
I said Max Verstappen would get pole.
No points.
Which he did not. I said Verstappen would win the race.
No, 1 point. Sorry, yeah.
I said Lando Norris would finish second.
2 points.
And I said George Russell would finish third. So really, if the water leak had happened to the right car, I got 6 out of 6.
No, Verstappen would have had the water leak.
What?
That would be the
he
right
wasn't even
car
driving a
for it to
Mercedes.
happen. Yeah, it would still be the right car for it to happen, though.
If Hamilton DNF'd, I got 6 out of 6 instead of Russell.
Yeah, but he didn't, Jamie. And he's
didn't.
just
So you're leading
again
by a couple of points.
Well, it means you get to do predictions first for Hungary, and let's not forget, many people argue that this is Lewis's greatest track in Formula 1. I don't want to jump the gun here, Jamie, but when I say the title
is he
going to
win the championship?
He is going to win. I think we've worked this out. Max would have to finish 4th every race, and Lewis would have to win every single one, and have fastest
Lewis
lap.
is even in the top 5.
But he will be. That's the important bit.
Where is he? He's 8th.
Is he still 8th with a win? Surely not.
This is your GOAT.
Yeah? He's had a tough
and
start
he's
to the
P8
year.
in the championship.
But he's 1 point behind Russell. He's 8 points behind Sergio Perez. He'll probably be 5th by the end of next weekend. Can we appreciate as well actually how consistent Carlos Sainz has been?
More than Piastri. Yeah, Sainz being 4th.
Like, no, but if he wins and Oscar finishes P5 again, like this weekend, he'll be there. Simple.
Nobody finished in the points every race.
No.
Which is quite interesting.
Insane. Formula 1 is actually getting somewhere this year. And Ollie Behrman,
Well.
shout out to him, still 14th in the championship.
Only recently lost out to Hulk. He was 11th before Austria.
Well, let's just talk about that quickly, because Hulkenberg now is best of the rest, 1 point behind Stroll. And after literally last week, we said that there's no way Haas are going to catch up to RB, and now 4 points back.
Yes.
Haas might
If they had a
genuinely
serious
jump
second
Aston
driver.
Martin this year.
Also, this goes to show again that 2021 Haas was probably not that bad.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
We've always
Hulkenberg
banged
is
this drum.
smashing up Magnussen.
Yeah, who smashed up Schumacher.
Magnussen smashed up Schumacher.
Who smashed
And
up
Schumacher was
Mazepin.
made to look incredible next to Mazepin.
Exactly. It's exactly.
If it was Hulkenberg Mazepin, he would have been 3.5 seconds off his teammate every race.
Where did Haas finished 8th in 2022, didn't they? Had they had Hulk in that car rather than Mick, they probably could have fought Aston and Alfa Romeo for P6.
Yeah.
Insanity.
Yeah.
Insanity. Quickly as well, before we finish, Alonso should be on fraud watch because he's been outclassed once
Stroll's
again by
genuinely
Stroll.
better.
Stroll has genuinely been better in the last couple of Grand Prix, so congratulations on your 2-year deal, you old man. Some old men are still winning races nearly at 40, so we'd love to see
Well,
it.
Alonso wasn't that far off last season, was he, in a couple of times?
But he didn't, Jamie, and that's the big thing. But yeah, thank you all. I don't think we got anything else to add, have we,
Matt's
Jamie?
going to go and celebrate everything
I'm
for the
gonna,
rest
yeah.
of the time.
I'm just every podcast from now on. He's gonna talk about this. It's gonna be fantastic. But yeah, thank you all as always so much for listening. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure you drop a like, drop a follow, drop a sub, all that good stuff. And Jamie and I will be back next week, back to normal, to preview the Hungarian Grand Prix.